Here's the thing we can be certain of. The DOJ will not be getting any credit from either side. Even though, dare I say, maybe, as a legal matter, it's the right thing to do in both cases. Oh, how can he say that? Joining me now, John Yoo, former Deputy Assistant Attorney General in the Office of Legal Counsel at DOJ under the George W. Bush administration. Thanks so much for coming on the program. Appreciate it. All right, so if you could just explain to us in the sort of simplest terms why the DOJ would step in these kinds of cases and why the Biden DOJ might decide to defend Donald Trump.
I've been critical of DOJ and I've supported DOJ, and I'd like to say right now, this is what the Justice Department should do. It has to defend not the person who happens to be president, but the office of the presidency. And in this case, there's a longstanding principle that was drawn out of the Nixon years that presidents shouldn't be subject to lawsuits for money for the decisions they make while they're president, not before and after president, but while they're president. And the reason why is because you can imagine how a president could get harassed by dozens, if not hundreds, of lawsuits challenging every decision he makes. When we elect someone to the presidency, we don't want them to always be thinking in the back of their minds when they have to make the toughest decisions that any government official has to make about being sued someday for money in their personal capacity, as you say, Dan.
So it sounds to me like the judge in this case, Amy Berman Jackson, actually changed her ruling on this as a result of effectively the DOJ threatening to appeal.
Yes, that's right. In fact, I think she came to realize her initial decision was wrong because the law says, again, we're treating the office of the presidency, not the person who just happens to hold that office today. We don't want the office of the presidency also to be disrupted by every time someone files a lawsuit, showing up for depositions, getting ready for depositions. I have to say, we saw in the second Clinton term how lawsuits and investigations can essentially cripple a presidency. And so I think the judge realized here, look, we may never even need Donald Trump's testimony in this case. Let's go to the people below President Trump, like Chris Wray, like other FBI officials, before we have to interfere with the president's time. And I asked people who are critics of President Trump, like some of the people who played in the clip, do they want President Biden to be treated this way too? Again, this is a principle that protects both Trump and Biden and Obama and Bush and Clinton. It protects whoever happens to be in the office so they can do the best job for the American people.
But sadly, when partisans evaluate this, they only look at through the lens of, is my guy going to be benefited or not?
Yes, of course. You know, and as you said, we just came off the Durham report. The Justice Department is obviously under attack. I've been critical of the department from time to time. But this is why it's important for the department to be nonpartisan, for it to not have bias, because there's so many important things it has to do to protect the government, to protect the office of the presidency, to make sure that our government functions effectively.
John Yoo, thank you so much for coming on the show. Really appreciate it.
Thanks, Dan.
Thank you for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find NewsNation on your cable provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.